Hi. I got my mojo back this week. Maybe. I've not done a lot more on the design that I showed you last week, but I've done a little bit on the track screen that I thought I'd show you. I also worked out some stuff that I hadn't worked out with the first series of mock-ups, so I thought I'd show you through. So this is what I've shown you already. This is kind of a transparent UI layer on top of some form of animating background. Maybe not completely fireworks. There was a bit of a backlash against that suggestion last week, probably for good reason. But I'd like to have something that's a bit dynamic. I do think it should be configurable, so I'm thinking maybe it ranges from a flat black background for those kind of intense performance environments where you don't really want any distractions at all. But I'd like something that gives you some form of feedback about, for example, the master clock position. So maybe some circling colors that has a recognizable start and position, so you can see. Anyway, still figuring that out. So yeah, this is the main screen. And then I haven't figured out the rest of the panel that you bring down, but it'll look something like that with some more content here. And then when you long press on a track, like I showed you last time, it brings up this track configuration screen. So you've got the clips along the top, and if you have more than one, it'll show all the clips. Remember, the clips are pieces of audio for a track that will play one at a time, so you can switch between clips. And clips are made up of layers which mix with each other. So if you do an overdub, each layer of that overdub will be a layer of a clip, and you can switch from one clip to another. So if you say import a couple of different drum tracks, you can switch from one to the other. So that's not changed from last time, but the way you see it has changed a bit. So you've got each of the clips here, and if you tap one, it will start playing that clip. Then you can share that clip. That'll open up the share panel and give you, iMessage, email, Facebook, the usual. And then if you tap this disclosure arrow here, the clip beside it is going to expand and open up the editor. So you can close it again by tapping the same disclosure arrow, which is since rotated to show that it closes. And then you've got each of the layers here, as well as a automation grid here, just for the volume, but you can tap this little plus arrow and it will create more automation. So if you've got a effect, for example, a built-in effect, you'll be able to automate that, for example. So you've got the clip here, and then you've got the layers that run along this side. No more sub-layers. I think that was a bit too confusing. I think 2 levels is probably sufficient. But yeah, you've got the layers here, and you can tap the little mute button here to turn them on and off. You can access their own automation, so you can perform, for example, volume, pan, etc. automations per layer by tapping this little disclosure thing here. And then you've got the ruler that appears along the top, and then a little tool icon. Now if you tap the tool icon, it shows you these 3 tools. There may be more to come, but these are the ones that I've already talked about. So you've got the mute tool, which lets you tap on any segment and it'll turn it on or off. You've got the slice tool, which lets you either slice manually in one particular position using the ruler, or you'll be able to slice either at regular intervals, so you can slice a segment up into, say, 16 parts, or you can slice on the transients. So that'll be kind of handy. And then you've got the warp tool. Now that lets you take the transients and then move them back or forward in time, maybe quantize them to a certain timing. Then you can tap a little X to get rid of that. So I'm quite partial to radial menus, and I thought I'd experiment with that. So if you long press on a segment here, it brings up this radial menu, and then you can actually activate it in one of 2 ways. You can either let go, do you mind? You can either let go and then tap on the item that you want to select, or once you've sort of got more familiar with using the interface, you can just long press, slide in the direction you need and let go, and it will activate that function. So you can access that functionality faster than having to, for example, use a pop-up menu, which is 2 taps. So we've got copy. You can copy it to the clipboard, and paste, so you can actually make duplicates of tracks in various places. You've got duplicate as well, so that you will make another copy of the track immediately after the current one. By track, I mean segment. You can delete a segment, you can mute it or unmute it. You can edit a segment, and that will use iOS 8's new extensions functionality to open that audio in whatever app supports audio editing. So that'll be kind of nice. You can share it, so you'll be able to iMessage, email, etc. Probably also export to audio share and audio copy, etc. And then you've got the import screen, so you can actually import new layers, so you can blend imported pieces of audio together. So that's the track editor. The other thing that I've been working on is the track options. So you'll remember back here we had the track options sort of call out here, which you can tap. Not call out, I mean a disclosure arrow. So it's closed by default so that it's not too visually messy. And you can expand it by tapping on that track options thing. And it opens up to show something like this. So there are 3 track types that I've come up with. Well, actually there are 2. There's audio tracks and instrument tracks, which is MIDI. So audio is divided into 2 because you can have either a live audio source that's plugged in, or you've got inter-app audio. So by default you see the live audio source here, and if you've got a multi-channel input device plugged in, you'll see the channels of it here. And you'll be able to tap on these bubbles to toggle particular channels on and off. You see you can have individual channels or stereo combinations of them. So, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. You can select more than one of those, of course, and it'll mix it together. So say you've got, vocals on channel 1 and guitar on channel 2, you can have both in there bridged to stereo or mono. So if you tap the type icon here, you get these other types that kind of fold out, and you can change the type of the track. So if you select the app type, that gives you an inter-app audio configuration. So you can tap here to select an inter-app audio app as the source, and once you add one, I'm thinking it will add another empty box so you can have more than one app and it'll mix them together in the track. So that's inter-app audio, and then there's an instrument track which has 2 configuration options. The first is an input source, and the second is a audio renderer. So the input source could be a external synth keyboard that you've got plugged in. It could be a virtual MIDI port, which means you can use an app like Sound Prism to control the notes. And then there are going to be a few built-in types. So you'll see this is the keyboard type. And once you select that in any track, you get this little handle that appears at the bottom of the screen. In any screen in Loopy, this is always visible. A bit like the connection panel in Audio Bus. So if you tap that, or you drag it out, you get a software MIDI keyboard, which has, octave settings and the usual stuff. So that's a keyboard. I'm thinking there might be a few other types as well, like a pad interface. So you've got, like an 8x8 grid. And maybe some kind of a smart keyboard that gives you, chords. I think that would probably be a good idea. So maybe a list of chords along the top that you can edit, and then buttons along the bottom which trigger particular notes in that scale. Standard sort of thing. So be able to select that there. And in generator, you're going to love this. There are several generator types you can pick. The first is an internal synth. So there'll be a sampler within Loopy that will take any kind of audio samples that you put at it. So, Logic samples or anything that's already supported by the sampler audio unit that Apple provide to us in iOS 8. That thing's amazing. It's so fully featured, and it's just available to all developers. So why wouldn't I use it? So you'll be able to upload samples and use them in your tracks. That's the sampler. And of course, that might be useful if you've got some drum samples. You could use the inbuilt pad instrument instead of having to map them to piano keyboard. The next type, which I'm really excited about, is a track source. So again, it's a bit like a sampler, but its samples actually come from another track. So you can divide the track arbitrarily, say into 16 32 parts, or on the transients, and then the sampler will activate particular portions of that track. So you can actually, you know, have an external MIDI keyboard, have a track, record it, and then play parts of that track back live, which I think is quite nice. Not original, but nice. The third generator type is, of course, inter-app audio. So there's a particular kind of inter-app audio node that will take MIDI notes and it will give you back the rendered audio. So you'll be able to use any app that supports that. So yeah, that's it. Then there's the settings, which I've already showed you. That's nothing particularly new there. But at the bottom, there's some new features that let you interact with the defaults, but also let you copy and paste settings, or kind of lift and stamp, which is sort of what a few photo editing apps let you do. So you can get a track configured the way you want it, and then go into another track and apply those same settings so that it's sort of a duplicate of the first track. I haven't quite figured out how to do mass editing, because there are, of course, going to be circumstances where you want, could be 16 tracks of the same setting. You don't want to have to go into a track 16 times to do that. So I'm thinking maybe you can edit as a group, something like that. I'll still figure it out. I've not done any work into the actual play screen and the arrangement stuff yet, the designing your play environment. It's probably going to come this week. It'll probably be much the same as what I showed you originally. So you can group tracks together and have either a group play one track within the group at a time, or have turning on a group turn on all of the tracks within it, or that sort of thing, so that you can do verse chorus. All that stuff's still to come. But that's it for me this week. I'd love to know what you think. Talk to you next week.